Real estate, that is what we are going to talk about in today's video. I was at a couple parties over the weekend and I talked to several individuals about some future plans that they had for building spec homes in my area. So, I want to talk today about real estate prices, where we think they might be heading, spec homes in general, and some trends that you can watch for in your market to tell you where real estate might be heading in your area. So in my area, there are several different segments inside my regionalized real estate market. Okay, so the first thing I'd say, real estate is extremely regionalized. So every market is going to function a little bit different. These are things that you can watch for in your region. If you're not in my region, this information is not going to be perfectly relevant for you. However, they're good cues to watch for. In my market, new homes are a small sliver of the market. So when you see changes in the new home marketplace, in other words, new construction, they're very telling of what's going to happen in the future usually. Or it's at least a good gauge as to watch for timing hints about when things are going to change. So the market inside of that small niche of new construction real estate has three niches inside of it, in my opinion. One would be a starter house. The second would be a second home for a middle-class family. And the third would be more of a high-end custom, I would just say, nice, expensive house. The starter home is not what we're going to talk about today. We are going to focus all of our time in this mid-tier house. It's usually somebody's second or third home. This house would typically involve things like a 3-car garage. You'd typically be on a lot that costs somewhere in between $50,000 and $100,000. You'd typically see hard surface countertops. That's going to mean granite, quartz, or concrete. You'd typically see showers that are going to be non-porcelain and they're going to be tiled. You'd typically see tile in the bathroom floor. You'd typically see tile someplace in the kitchen, maybe a backsplash. So that is the type of home. The size is going to be roughly 2,000 to 2,500 square feet on a slab or a basement. The price range of this home in my market is going to be somewhere in between $450,000 and $650,000. Okay, if you're on a slab, you're going to be more on the $450,000 to $550,000 range of that price range. If you're on a basement, you're going to be more like $550,000 and above. What I noticed this weekend is I heard several new entrants into that market, which in my opinion is a great clue to watch for as to whether that market is approaching the top of its cycle, which most markets go in a bell curve cycle. If that market's approaching the top, the bottom on the front end, or the bottom on the back end. I would contend that when you see a bunch of new market participants into a marketplace that have never been there before, it's a good clue that the average consumer, not a typical builder, is starting to take note of some profits that have been made in the past in that specific market. In our market, that specific market is probably the juiciest market that's available to build in, meaning it has the highest margins. Okay, so there's probably been some of these guys that have experienced some of their friends telling them about making 6 figures or close to 6 figures on a spec house. And these guys say, no, that's pretty darn good. That's better than I do on what I normally do for a living. Maybe I should get into this. And that's great sign for us as just everyday consumers to observe and say, oh, that's rare. Maybe that market is attracting special attention because it's a little bit too frothy, right? Maybe the profits are a little bit too big. Maybe there's something going on in that market that we could take note of. So I combine the fact that more people are entering the market, and I just talked to 2 this weekend, so I only talked to a couple people this weekend, so it's not like it's that big of a clue. But and then you combine that with the information that I've observed over the past year, I would say, and the amount of homes listed in our local area has probably doubled. So you have a massive increase in the amount of homes offered in general, not just new homes, but the new homes are way up too. And then you also have new entrants into the marketplace. And when you see both of those combined, it's usually a good clue that more retail investors are wading their feet into a new market, and that the chance of it peaking soon is more likely, or the chance of it getting to a peak and stabilizing for a while is more likely. Okay, not everything happens in a bell curve, but a lot of things in the investment world do. And this is information that we should all just take note of. If you're planning on buying or selling a home at the current time, this might be a clue to you, if you're a buyer, that you could maybe get a little bit of a better deal, because there's going to be maybe a little bit less demand, maybe a little bit more inventory, which might be able to allow you to get a better deal on your next purchase. If you're a seller, you're probably going to have a little bit harder time selling your house, again, because there's more inventory, there's more to look at, there's more to choose from. Sellers are usually going to be a little bit less strict about holding to their specific price where they started. So anyways, this is just some observations that I've made over the course of the weekend, and I thought I'd share it with you. It's very interesting, in my opinion, things that I like to pay attention to, but obviously I'm a little bit weird when what I pay attention to is this. Anyhow, have a positive attitude of gratitude, and thanks for checking out the video.